Hi, I'm Simon Fry and you join me at the beautiful Barston Lakes for a day's winter feeder fishing. Today we're going to be going for skimmers, going to maybe fish some bloodworm and joker. I'm going to talk you through some of the rigs I'm going to use, the tackle we're going to use. Let's go and fish. Well, we've come to Barston Lakes today to sample the amazing winter skimmer fishing. It really can be a fisher chuck here no matter what the conditions. Fishing with joker in the ground bait today, which I think is really going to help us catch some fish. Not putting any bloodworm on the hook, but you can use big baits but still feed joker, and it really is fantastic winter fishing. That's a small one, smallest of the day, that one. But amazing fishing. So I'm fishing at 21 metres today, just one line, very, very simple fishing. I'll show you how I prepare the joker and talk a little bit about how you can look after joker. I think people get frightened or put off using it, but it's actually a really, really simple bait to use and can really improve your winter fishing where it's allowed. Dead easy to look after. Just fishing a little cage feeder today. There's some tow on the lake, which is maybe encouraging them to feed. It's putting a hell of a bend in the tip. Missed that one, but yeah, it's fantastic fishing. Right, the bait for today's skimmer session here at Barston. On the ground bait front, I've mixed these two 50-50, which is mainline F1 dark and the Supernatural dark. It's a fantastic winter mix, it's sort of fairly low in feed content, but with enough flavour from that one to attract the fish. So that's been pre-mixed there. So it's quite a nice, fine, fluffy mix. We're going to put some joker in today, so I've got some dampling to separate the joker. And then for hook baits, we've got bloodworm if it's going to be hard. Might not have to use that today, but we'll give it a go anyway. And then I've also got some dead pinkies, some dead red and fluoro maggots, and then for hookers, often this time of year you're better off fishing with a live bait. So I've got live maggots, and of course the old favourite, live pinkies. For today's session, going to be using some bloodworm and joker. It's dead easy to use. There's a couple of places that I get mine from. You can get Sam Wildsmith, Taffy's bloodworm. You can order them online, look them up on Facebook. The joker comes in a paper like this, and to be honest with you, it'll keep like this for days. But for me, if you're going to keep it for longer, I'll leam it up. Got some here, some I've already done, prepared earlier. And that back in the paper will keep for, I reckon you keep it for a good couple of weeks at least in the paper. And then you've got your hooker pack that you get with a match pack that you order through these guys. The best way is in a little Tupperware clip system like this with just enough water to cover the bloodworm. Advisable to change the water fairly regularly, so just riddle it through, change the water. I'd say daily if you're going to keep it, but it will last for, you could again keep this going for a good couple of weeks to go with your joker. Right, for today's session we're going to use a little bit of joker for feed, putting through the feeder. So very, very simple to do. Not going to use too much today, so I'm just going to take a little bit of joker, stick it in a bowl, get a pinky riddle, some damp lean, and I'm literally just going to riddle that through here. And this will separate the joker beautifully. Just riddle that around. There you go, simple as that. That's ready to go in the feeder, and you can just put a pinch in, or you can measure an amount into your ground bait, so you've got a set amount to spread throughout the ground bait, and you can feel your way in as you go. Dead simple. Using a really nice little soft 10-foot rod today for this sort of fishing. We're only fishing 21 metres, so no need for a long rod. This is a beautiful soft rod. You can see all the bites, but more importantly for playing the fish, it's very, very forgiving. We're using fairly light lines, small hooks, and obviously these skimmers are really soft mouthed, and this rod absolutely perfect. You want a soft rod, I mean any soft rod really. This is one of the new Garbolino X-Lite rods, just a fabulous bit of kit. Soft tip, probably a little bit too soft for today, but yeah, we've got limited amount of time and I didn't really want to set it all up again, but it's doing the job admirably. So yeah, that's the rod, and it's important to use a light rod, I think, for this sort of fishing. It just makes the whole thing much more pleasurable. Let's get this cast out and we'll talk a bit about the terminal tackle as well. So I do love this venue, it's such a great venue. So I'm using a reel loaded with braid. I've got a shock leader on the braid as well, just to cushion the, I don't need the shock leader for casting, but I like to, when you get the fish under the rod tip, just gives you a bit more of a cushion, the mono shock leader. Very, very simple feeder setup, just with a simple bead, and not, oh, another bite straight away. It's ridiculous fishing. Missing a few, but I think I've probably got too many fish in the peg at the moment. It's I've shortened hook length off a bit since we started, and yeah, but so yeah, really simple running feeder rig, with a little tiny bead that stops on a knot. Dead simple. Fishing 012 bottom to a size 16 hook, and baiting up with double red maggot. It's as simple as that. It really is simple, but very, very effective. Just putting a few dead pinkies in with the ground bait, and I've got some joker that I've mixed in with the ground bait, so every single chuck there's some joker going through, which I just think is keeping the fish grubbing around and active. I'm fishing, I say, maggot on the hook, but putting some dead pinkies through, which is just a nice bait for skimmers to grub around on, and it really is simple fishing. Look at that, that has been in the water for seconds. And I had runs like this throughout the day where you literally just put the rod down and it's off. And you know, this is middle of the winter. It's amazing fishing, it really is. And they're not big fish, we haven't had any big fish yet, but probably skimmers up to getting on for a pound, I would say. Quite a few smaller ones, 8 to 10 ounce. But you can really soon build a weight with these. You know, if you can catch them that quickly, that's only a little 6 ouncer, but they all count. As I said, I'm fishing at 21 metres today. It's a nice comfortable distance for these little light soft rods, and to be fair, I do know this venue pretty well, and I know that in this area, you know, 18 to 25 metres is normally a great area for catching skimmers. I've measured up on the sticks. It's essential to do that if you're using a couple of rods. Particularly, I've used one for baiting up, which is a stiffer rod with braid direct that I can empty the feeder out, the feeding feed out really nicely, and you know exactly where it's going. So it's really important that I measure up on the stick, so I'm fishing exactly over the same spot with my fishing rod. And here come the geese. Wow. That's the other beauty of fishing somewhere like Barston as well, or any of these places, really bigger lakes. Some of the wildlife you see is phenomenal, and sometimes you get just as much pleasure from looking at the wildlife as you do from fishing. But it's a lovely skimmer. Look at this. Not had many that size today, but they're the ones we're after. If you can get those, that's a good £1.5. That one. Oh, that's a beautiful fish. And, he wanted that one. So I was saying about the importance of the sticks. It's so important to, if you're using 2 rods, to stick up, because I mean, if you're using 1 rod, it's fine. You can just clip up and you know you're going to be in the same spot. But when you're using 2 rods, it's really important to stick up. You know exactly where you are, and also if you hook a carp, you need to unclip, for example, you can get straight back on the sticks and clip up again, so you're back in the same spot. I'm using a tiny little 20-gram cage feeder today. The thing with these skimmers is, I think you're always better off using it. We're going in and out very, very regularly, so it's better off with a tiny little feeder, just regularly putting bait in. Seems to be the best way to really get them going. And 20 grams, even with this wind, there's a fairly stiff breeze blowing from right to left, but 20-gram cage at that range I'm fishing, 21 metres, it's more than able to hit the same spot every time. You know, if I was going further and the wind was a bit stronger, then possibly we could look at using a window feeder or something like that, but not necessary today. Just up in the air, we've got this swan going under us, but it's phenomenal fishing. This is just crazy. You could do yourself a mega weight of these skimmers fishing like this. 1 or 2 better ones now as well. So that's probably over £2 in 2 minutes, I reckon. It's amazing fishing. So I've kicked the peg off today with my bait up rod. It's actually a carp bomb rod. It's just a little bit stiffer, loaded with braid direct, and it's better for feeding than the softer rod that I'm using to fish with. I've put probably the 5-hole Drennan open cage feeders. I've put 3 or 4 of those in at the start, and in the feed I've put some joker and dead pinkies, and it's we're in again straight away. And yeah, that's what I've kicked the peg off with, and started fishing pretty much 10 minutes after that, and really been into fish straight away, and it's not really stopped. It's been pretty much a fish a chuck for the hour or so we've been fishing. Obviously, if things slowed down, I wouldn't hesitate to pick up the bait up rod and put another, you know, if I went 10 or 15 minutes without a bite, that would be the signal to me to refeed. And that's where the beauty of having sticked up comes in, because I've got a bait up rod that I can just pick up, empty another probably 2 or 3 feeders, bait up feeders of bait in, and hopefully that would bring it back to life. But we certainly don't need to think about that at the minute. So as I've said, I'm fishing with this tiny little 3-hole 20-gram feeder, and all I'm doing each cast is, I've already got the joker mixed into my ground bait, so I've put, it's actually 1/8 of a litre of joker into about 2 pints of ground bait, which is quite a bit of joker, to be honest. It doesn't sound a lot, it's one of those little 1/8 of a litre measuring pots, and but you know, when I'm sifting through the ground bait, you can see it's got a fair amount of joker in there, so some of that's going in every single chuck regardless, but I'm also adding to that some mainly dead pinkies, but every so often I'll put a few live maggots through, which is what I'm fishing on the hook, and I just kind of judge that as I go along. So the way the fishing is at the minute, there's obviously a load of fish out there, so I'm putting in every chuck, probably half a dozen pinkies, dead pinkies, and maybe a couple of live red maggots just to keep the fish grubbing around. But I wouldn't hesitate if it slowed down, as I said, to put another couple or 3 bait up feeders in, but certainly don't need to do that at the minute. The beauty of this style of fishing is you can really get yourself into a rhythm, you know, casting, rod on the rest, bite, fish, repeat. It gets very rhythmical. On the odd occasion that I've got to wait more than a minute for a bite, you can't beat just twitching the rod back over the rest just to give the hook bait a bit of movement. And look at that, perfectly unhooked. And also with the toe, as it is, I tend to start with the rod in the middle of the rod rest, and if I'm not getting the bite, I can then follow the toe out, so I'm keeping the tip as straight as I can, and often that will lead to a much more positive bite. You can't slack line in these conditions, but by being able to move the rod along, you can almost put yourself in a position where it's slack for a few seconds, which is often enough to get that really positive bite. And I say then, if you're not getting a bite for a minute, you can come back the other way and give your bait a twitch, which always helps. The other thing, in terms of efficiency, it just helps laying everything out. So you've got everything to hand. I've got my landing net here, bait nice and handy, disgorger here. You've got everything to hand, which makes it as efficient as you can possibly be. Well, there you go. Just a little one to finish on, but we've had an absolutely fantastic day. Hope you've enjoyed that video. I've really enjoyed filming it for you, and I hope there's a few tips in there that you can take on board and hopefully improve your own skimmer fishing. So thanks for watching.